like, share, and subscribe to my channel as I continue to provide you with trusted information for you to use to make decisions. Today, I want to deal with an issue that a number of persons are not dealing with, and that is domestic violence against women. Now, a number of Jamaicans believe that they must have total control over their women and that their women should not cheat on them, and if their women cheat on them, they have the right to do some stuff. That is not my view of things, and it should not be the view and practice of any other Jamaican male who believe that you have the right over a woman's body, and therefore you are able to do anything to actually put her back into subjection because she's not acquiescing or subscribing or practicing whatever you would want her to practice. So today I want to deal with this matter, and this matter is domestic violence against women. It's something that we need to address because a part of why we're having these fundamental problems and division in the family is because of men's behavior. Of course, women's behavior as well, whatever led to that behavior of the woman to let the man think of abusing the woman physically should be stopped, but that does not warrant a man behavior in terms of physically assaulting a woman, whatever reason it is. That should not be the case. So today we want to look at domestic violence, and we're looking at it from a research perspective in terms of Jamaica and not from a single perspective of a single woman. So this study was done in 2022, looking at women and what they were going through, trying to understand where we are as a society and what has been going on. So we sought to research 1,066 Jamaican females across the 14 parishes would have given us a 95% confidence interval and a 3% margin of error. We got little over 500 women, which would be approximately 50% of what we wanted to sample. So these women were 18 to 25, 26 to 33, 34 to 31, and those who are over 41 years. These women were ranged from being students to self-employed women with various levels of education. So we need to understand clearly what was really happening to these women that we are going to be talking about today. Now, a number of these women are head of household. 49% of these women are head of household, which means almost 50% of Jamaican children are grown by single mothers. When they were asked, have you been a victim of domestic violence? 32% of Jamaican women indicated that they have been victims of domestic violence. When they were asked, do you know who the perpetrator is? 61% of them said yes, they know who the perpetrators are in terms of those violent acts. No. Let's look at what this is actually saying to us. This is saying to us that most of the single women in Jamaica are being abused by their partners. And this is indicating that something needs to be addressed. Let me repeat that. Not most of the Jamaican women, single women, is a substantial number of the Jamaican women who are single mothers are being abused by their spouses, and remember their spouses are outside the homes. And then there are other women who are equally abused. Remember, we're saying 32%, which means 32 out of every 100 or 16 out of every 50 Jamaican women are being abused physically. And this is something that needs to be addressed. What is resulting in men wanting to physically assault or abuse their women. Something that needs to be looked at. Now, within the context that 50%, almost 50% of the Jamaican children are grown by single mothers. What would actually be stimulating males who are grown by single mothers later to want to abuse their women physically? That's something that we need to think about. A number of persons are not thinking about it like this, but it ought to be thought about within the context that whatever is happening in the homes where these single boys are, they are being traumatized. They are not properly socialized and groomed or cultured to be balanced females. And clearly, whatever is happening during their early childhood, being grown by mommy, is a noose around their neck to create a situation where they are likely to actually think of abusing a female. And this has been something that we need to think about. What is happening in the homes of single mothers or boy grown by single mothers? Because remember, we're saying almost 50% of the homes are single mothers. And that ought to mean something in terms of trying to understand what is happening in our society. What is going on in the homes in Jamaica to see us abusing women at this high rate? What is happening to the men? Clearly, there has to be something psychological happening to our men, and there has to be something fundamentally happening in the homes to create and produce boys who are later going to be perpetrators of violence against women. And it's something that we need to look at. It's something that we need to study psychologically and try to understand why is this happening to our boys and why this is happening to our women. Now, we looked at the issue relating to domestic violence, and we look at the frequency at which these things are happening in our homes. And we are realizing that, listen, women are saying before COVID-19, 6% of them were being abused frequently. During COVID-19, the figure increased to 15% of women were being abused. That is more than a 100% increase in the number of physical violence, physical abuse occurring in the homes during COVID-19. And this is something that we need to understand. What is the psychology behind the lockdown that would have created this monster in the minds of males to wanting them to abuse their women? What is the psychology of the women in the homes to have led to them being abused? And what are they contributing to this abuse? No, I am not arguing for 1 out of a second that this thing is true. Or let me go further by saying this thing ought to be the case, or that men are justified in their act or actions or behavior against women in this manner. But the issue is what is stimulating, what is causing, what is influencing this behavior by the men, and what is the home atmosphere to have actually caused this 100% increase in domestic violence, physical abuse of our women. No, a number of persons do not want to deal with this. But are the women contributing to their own demise? And are the men so weakened in terms of how they were socialized to be causing this behavior? Is the economic climate or the psychology of the economic climate resulting in men physically assaulting or physically abusing their women? What is happening in our homes? And if this behavior was occurring in our homes, what are we going to do to solve it post COVID-19? Because if a number of these men have not been brought to books, one, two, been counseled out of their behavior, then what is still happening in our homes today? Are we expecting to see a rise in homicide, domestic violence, suicide? What is in our homes? Are we expecting to see more murders? What is going on with our homes? What can be done to resolve and address this problem? This is clearly a monster. You're talking about 16 out of every 50 women, or we say 32% of women, being physically abused during COVID 19. This had, sorry, um, being physically abused. And we're talking about 15% of these women have indicated that they were abused during COVID, whereas only 7% of them were abused before COVID 19. What was transpiring during the COVID 19 era period to have caused this behavior? Additionally, where are we as a people, as society? How are we growing the men? Can the women effectively grow the boys? What is happening in the homes that will see men abusing women at this alarming rate? What can be done? Something needs to be done to address this issue. Something needs to be done in terms of guiding women in terms of their behavior. And something needs to be done in terms of saying to men what they ought to do and what they ought not to do in the homes. Whatever the situations are in homes, we need to try to arrest those problems so we can lower this figure that is occurring. We cannot continue to be physically assaulting our women, and it has to be a situation where whatever is happening in the homes of single mothers is actually perpetrating violence. And this needs to be addressed. This needs to be studied. What do you have to say? Like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I want to hear your views. What can we do about this scenario? Currently, it has not been addressed. Research is here now on the matter. What are we going to do about it? Can we allow it to remain? Are the women to be blamed? Are the men held hostage by females? What is happening? We're not taking a side today or tomorrow or next week. We are saying it's a fundamental pandemic that must be addressed. What are we going to be doing about it? Let me hear your views, because both men and women are our future. We cannot see the men going to jail, and we cannot have more females grooming, guiding, culturing, socializing boys. We are seeing the product of that socialization, and something must be done to address and arrest the problem. What are your views? What are your views? What can be done to solve this dilemma?